Welcome to Retroactive, everybody, your place for all things fandom. My name's Andrew, and as always, I am joined by my panelists. Today we have Josh McCoy
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for having me.
and Brandon Jenkins returning. And I
Hello.
can't get my directions right, but it's all good. So we're going to be talking a few different things. And mostly we're going to be talking about Ahsoka. We're going to go over episode 7 and, of course, the finale with episode 8. We're going to talk a little bit about the writer's strike ending and some early reviews of Loki season 2 coming out. Maybe a little bit more. We'll see. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into Ahsoka. Now, I want to talk a little bit about episode 7 because we didn't quite get into that as of yet. Great reunion episode. Obviously, a lot to love at the very end there. We get a little bit more of Ezra and all that kind of stuff. So, first of all, I want to jump it over to Josh. Josh, what did you think of that particular episode?
See, that was last week. I watched that one, trying to remember. All I know is I thought it was, again, my main gripe so far is the lack of sense of urgency. I feel like they took a lot of time in that field when Thrawn's over there doing his thing, and it's like they're in no rush at all. I thought I didn't watch Rebels or anything, but from gathered people, the reunion was pretty cool. It was cool getting to see Ezra in action. I've heard a lot of people were kind of disappointed by his fighting because I thought he'd be a lot stronger, but because he seems to, even with this latest episode, the finale, he kind of got thrown around a lot, but we'll get into that. I was expecting him to be a lot stronger compared to what I've heard from everybody. But character development, I'm sure he'll get there and whatnot. But it was cool. What are the little turtle aliens?
Yeah, the little crustacean people or whatever.
I think those. I don't know. I like them. I think they're cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think they're really cool.
Well, and it makes sense for the character. The people that have seen the show, he always has attachment to animals and stuff like that, and different creatures within Star Wars. Most of the time from his home planet Lothal, but it's just a thing with him. So it made perfect sense that he would find a home within these creatures. The one thing I will say to what you talked about his level of power is I get what people are saying. I know there was a lot of people who are upset that that particular episode he wasn't wielding a lightsaber at all, but it was really cool in my opinion the part where he's holding back the lightsaber just using the Force. That is pretty cool.
I think people's gripe was he refused to do the lightsaber. It's the Force is all I need, but then immediately goes and grabs a blaster.
Right. So, they get a bit overrun. He's like, you know what? Never mind. I'm a little out of practice on this. Brandon, what did you think of that episode?
I liked it. I didn't think I didn't really have too many negative thoughts behind it. Because it was a good build up to what we've been waiting for so long. If you're a fan of Rebels, that is. I mean, if you kept up with that series like I did, and I know at least Andrew did, that's something that the fans have been waiting for a long time is where's Ezra? What's going on with him? Is he okay? Is there going to be any is there going to be a something maybe wrong with him after all this time? But I feel like the reveal for him was pretty good. A little disappointed that my own theory behind the Force not being, on that
right,
on that,
not being
that
applicable essentially. Yeah.
yeah, it was wrong, but that's okay. But that being said, I'm glad to see his return. I think the live action guy who played him is doing a good job. I mean, he's it's a little hard for me to wrap my head around any live action character from any animated show in general, not just Star Wars, but in general. But I feel like given time, I can warm up a lot more to him as opposed to some of the other Star Wars live action characters that we're now seeing. And that's impressive to say, considering that the actor that's played him has played nothing else, really, and no major roles, not even really any minor roles.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so kudos to him. I forget his name. I saw it once or twice, but he's doing a good job, and I think that episode was all in all not too bad for me. So
yeah, it was great getting to have that team up with him and Sabine for the first time. Battling it out, that they're typical, repartee, just back and forth type of stuff, starting to get that old vibe back that we had from the shows, and they carried over as well into the finale episode, and that's the part that I was really hoping for. And you're right, the crazy thing about that actor is like he hasn't really done anything, but even just that last episode alone, I was seeing so much of Ezra through him. And it was nuts. Like even his, it sounds silly, but even his voice in some cases sounds like Ezra did.
Yeah, and there's certain mannerisms in this. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good.
I want to interject one part that you just said. That there's certain mannerisms that I picked up on this episode that was just like, oh, that is definitely Ezra. But yeah, I'll let you continue.
No, and you're right. The one thing I was going to say from the episode 7 was when they get surrounded and he's just like, wait, just that whole thing. And he's like, maybe you should take us prisoner, like that sort of thing. Like that was like, oh my god, that's classic Ezra.
Yep.
And the surprise cameos in episode 7.
The surprise cameos, you said?
Yeah.
Remind me, what are we talking?
The cameo of Slaughterhouse.
Oh, fuck you.
That was the best part of episode 7. They kept father appearing, and episode 7 of Ahsoka.
We made it a whole like 5 minutes in, and we're already there. Okay. Anywho, so the one of the other interesting things was the departure between Balin and is it Rin? Is that or
Shin?
Finn? No, Shin. Not Finn. Shin. Sorry, I thought you said Finn. I was like, not Finn.
Yeah.
That's a different set of things. But yeah, so that was pretty interesting that like they completely split off. That went a completely different direction than I thought those characters were going to go. I'm interested, like we got a little glimpse of her in the final episode. So, I mean, clearly she's still around. I don't know what to expect from her. They're kind of taking her in a very different direction than what I thought they were going to be doing. I thought she was definitely going to be leading into the whole like Sith thing by the end of it. So we'll have to wait and see. She might still go dark. We just don't know. But I'm sorry.
She dipped. She's like,
screw. She dipped. Yeah, she's like, I'm out. But she had that conflict in her. They did a good job showing that when Ahsoka was like reaching out to her, being like, I can help you. You can come with us. And she has that moment of hesitation where she's like, should I do this? Because clearly my master has left me at this point and is off on his own thing, whatever he's doing. And so she still has, just like the fact that neither her or him are full on Sith, she still has a little bit of that pull from the light, I think, at this point in time. Only time will tell as far as what happens with her. But yeah, overall, like I said, pretty solid episode. Really nice reunion. I love the moment with Ezra and Ahsoka at the very end. That was very like heartwarming. Let's go ahead. We're obviously our main reason we're here to talk about the finale. We all have a lot of very strong opinions about it, and a lot of people online are going to have very strong opinions about this last episode. So I'm going to jump it over to who do I start with? You know what? I'm going to start with the guy that said he wasn't too happy with was Brandon. So Brandon,
we both said we weren't too happy. But...
Yeah, but
one? Pick one.
He jumped on and he was like, "Hey, how's it going?" I don't want. So we gotta jump into that, Brandon. Okay, tell me what's going on. Your thoughts on the last episode.
I brought up a couple things to you in the pre-show, but I'll start with some positives and then lead into some negatives. So the first and biggest one for me is I thought it was I love the team up that happened where you saw Sabine, Ezra, and Ahsoka all together and fighting. I'm still on the fence about Sabine as a Jedi, but in that team up, I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. I'll give it to them,
Yeah.
And I love with her fighting style how she's switching from lightsaber to then, even Ahsoka was like Sabine blasters, and it's like blah blah blah, and that's like okay. So
I'm just glad she was keeping the helmet on the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so weird for me to see like. Darksaber aside, a Mandalorian with a lightsaber.
Jedi,
it's like that's pretty cool. So that's probably the biggest plus for me on that. But I have a lot of reservations about this episode. And there's a lot of plot holes in. Huh?
That was the only positive.
Ask me in like
That's
24
not a
hours.
good-
I'll probably
that's not
think
a
of
good-
something. You know, I'm sorry, but like that
Yeah, I
that
had
to
a
me
few
was.
positives. Names one thing. And
I
jumped
thought
to
I
the
thought I
negatives.
did, and it slipped my mind. I had another one. I'm not. I can't remember what it is now because
To
I
be
got
fair,
caught up.
we're all jumping into this fresh off of
Fresh,
watching the episode.
yeah.
So like we don't have
This
a lot
is
of
like-
time to sit with it. This is a fresh reaction.
Yeah.
For anyone that's watching, we literally jumped on
20
15
minutes.
15,
Yeah.
20 minutes after the episode aired. So it is fresh in our minds, and that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So my reservations on it. There to me, there's quite a few plot holes, quite a few useless scenes, and in some ways there was a little bit of build up to nothingness. So I'll preference this too because I'm in a couple group chats with some people, and immediately after that show aired, and like probably 5 minutes after it ended, immediately people were talking about it and just like, what the hell was that? And just like going in on it. And so I texted those guys and I flat out was like, I'm in a podcast right now. Write me your reservations. And I'm going to say the ones that I agree with. The other ones they can deal with if I don't. So the first one, and I already mentioned this to you in the pre-show. Ezra's lightsaber. Okay. And again, this is spoiler review here. So we're going to go into it. He builds a new lightsaber. Off the bat, my first question I had was, where in the world did he get a kyber crystal from? And to me, that's kind of a big plot hole. And Andrew and I were talking a little bit about it before the show aired here. But it seemed to me like there could have been at least one sentence uttered by the droid that could have preferenced where it came from or anything, just like anything like along the lines of, well, I keep a drawer of these for just such occasions as this, and then pulls out a drawer, and then you see a couple kyber crystals. Anything could have been like, even if it was quick, it'd been like, all right, check. You see that's there, but they didn't preference that, and it's like, all right, where did he get the kyber crystal from?
Yeah, we
That's
talked
the
about
most
that,
important
or
point.
like if it was something like he took it from one of the other sabers that was on the thing, just address it really quick and move on.
Yeah. Another part that I didn't know that I didn't think about until that it was mentioned was Morgan. She just got these witch powers, and for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's like, all right, cool. Where's this going to go? And she dies. And it's like, what was the point of doing that? It set it up for failure in my mind. Other than that, I mean,
full circle from this and when she came in the Mandalorian show.
In the Mandalorian, yeah.
I was like
full
circle for that because she fought her on that episode, and this was kind of like, I don't know. I felt like that was
I'm with you on that, Josh, and I get what you're saying, Brandon. But I do think if you take it as from her first appearance in the Mandalorian to now, that it's a totally different thing. If it was just the series, it'd be completely pointless.
It seems like to me it hit that climax for it, and there should have been a little bit more that they could have done with it instead of just cutting it off right then and there. And who knows, maybe we'll see something later on in another season or maybe the movie. But for right now, it's just like, why did they do that?
Well, and
so, and I know all of this is and I know all this is preferenced by by the big fact of, well, who knows? Given 2-3 years when all this stuff wraps up, if it goes that long, I don't know when it's going to go and when the cutoff is for Filoni's universe, but maybe years from now we'll look back and I'll think to myself, okay, there's the answer to my question. There's the answer to my question. I was wrong to think that, but for right now, these are my reactions. And the last thing really was when it comes down to Ezra going back, it seemed to me that that once he, Ezra got home, right? Obviously, he took a ship off the Chimera. How did he find Hera? Did anyone think that at all?
Well, it's probably as simple as he went to Coruscant, because that's where they're at. That's where everything is still, centered
but that kind of leaves it up to the imagination, and to me the writing didn't seem too strong on that point. It's like, okay,
very concerned that Thrawn's back and Ahsoka and Sabine are stuck in a whole other galaxy still. He didn't really seem to care about that very much.
That too, yeah. I didn't even think about that point. That's a good point. But Yeah,
Again, there was like no sense of urgency. That's like one of my big things. Like,
yeah.
if Thrawn's back, it should have been like one of those, like, I feel like it would have made the episode end more suspenseful, like kind of like how Infinity War, where they're like, "Oh
Yeah.
shit, we're done." Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been better and more impactful if he showed up and he was like more alarmed,
Hmm.
and like the whole butterflies happy reunion thing. I feel like that would have made the episode end with like some eerie like uncomfortable feel, kind of like Infinity War did. That's the best way
Yeah.
to describe it, because everybody's been terrified of Thrawn coming back, but like they ended it in such like a somber way, like it felt like it was like a happy ending. I'm like, no,
Yeah, it didn't
you
fit.
guys are in a whole other galaxy. Like, what?
Literally.
She's like, in every scene, she has her arms crossed. I get that's Ahsoka's thing, but like, I feel like that's Rosario Dawson's move when she doesn't know what to do with her hands. You notice her arms are crossed in every scene. Like after they just killed the zombie stormtroopers, she does look back at them like, "Why are your arms crossed?"
It's also an Ahsoka thing, though. It is.
I know, but it's just like every move, like every time you see her, she's just like this.
Because like it's more when she gets a little bit older. Like early on Ahsoka, not so much, but like later on, especially when you get to the final season of Clone Wars, Ahsoka's very much like she's super defensive. Like, because that's a defense thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
that was more of a,
and I'm not saying that's what she's doing, but it's like it's a mixture of that, and it's also her attitude. That's it. But I get what you're saying. I'm just also throwing out the counterpoint that it is technically an Ahsoka thing.
Well, yeah, I figured as much, but it was more so that was just me poking fun.
The last thing I had to add,
the lack of urgency is just, I don't know.
I get you.
I'm right there with you.
You're like, run, bitch, run.
Yeah, you know, straight up though. I mean, he's got
just walking, chilling up. The ship's going as slow as possible.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like, hi, Chopper. How you doing? How's it going?
Yeah,
it's been a
while. But the last thing that is probably going to be answered in the future, but with Balin and Shin, they were, at the end of it, you see them wandering around. You see Shin, what looks like possibly taking over a commando of troopers. But that with Balin specifically, we know he's searching for a higher power. You see it in the distance. It doesn't leave. It leaves a lot of questions. Number one, why did they not feel any sort of, Josh's favorite term here, sense of urgency to go towards the Chimera if they knew if they were just about to get stranded? It just showed that they were like, after episode 6, I want to say, they just kind of like accepted, we're out here. And it kind of like, if you think about it, you go back to that episode, they show no longing to get back. Like, hey, we're about to get stranded in the galaxy where so far we've never seen any humans out here. You'd think something would trigger in their minds, let's get out of here, instead of let's just keep searching, despite the fact that we're about to get stranded. Because what's good use of a very powerful object or just force in general if you can't get back to civilization? I mean, I don't know. It just, to me, that was a question that was brought up by somebody, but it got me thinking too. So those are my reservations.
One thing I wanted to touch on that you mentioned real quick was the one last thing with the Morgan thing.
Sure.
I'm not saying this is the case, but she is a Night Sister. She could come back.
Yeah, that's true.
She might not be done.
Stormtroopers, she could come back.
Yeah, I mean, because we've seen it. That was one of the cool things with the whole like Blade of Talzin thing. Because Josh, you won't know this, but Mother Talzin from the Clone Wars was like the head of the Dathomir witches in the Clone Wars series. So that's what they're referencing with the sword that she was given. And that character, like, in one way or another, sort of resurrected like twice, maybe 3 times in the course of like all the Star Wars stuff. So anything's possible when you're talking like the Dathomir witches and things like that. So that's just something that I thought about that could be something to maybe like further that character a little bit as things progress. Now, Josh, other than sense of urgency, because that is the theme of this episode.
You need to name the podcast this episode, Sense of Urgency.
Yes. No, now that you mentioned it, I liked the title of this episode, The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord.
Yeah.
With the whole like touch on the Chronicles of Narnia thing. I thought that was kind of funny. But anyways, Josh, your thoughts on the final episode?
Aside from y'all's favorite thing to poke me for, the sense of urgency, I thought
Well, you're
I'm not
not
poking
wrong.
at you. I'm agreeing.
This
You're
might
not
be
wrong.
this might be just me, but I kind of felt like in certain parts, some of the lightsaber fights were kind of weird. Like the main one is when when they finally get and behind the doors and they're confronted by all the stormtroopers. The way Ahsoka is like reflecting with the lightsabers, it just looks like she doesn't know what to do with her hands. Like she's just kind of like flailing them. Like in other episodes, like another like she's more serious and she's like getting like there's more I don't know what the word is. Like I feel like they mapped it out more. And this one, it just kind of felt like she like I don't know. You guys have to maybe it might just be me, but the way she was swinging her lightsabers, it just felt like weird to me. It didn't. It felt like they could have done a better job with the what's the word choreography with that one. But that was a little weird. I thought the zombie stormtroopers were pretty dope. Not gonna lie, I thought that was cool. And the
Yeah.
sisters are creepy as hell. I love that. I'm a big horror fan, so
As it should be.
I think they're creepy as hell. Thrawn, I'm really interested to see what else they do with his character. I just think like it just goes back to it just and it kind of feels like we're back to where we started, just opposite. Like so it's like
Yeah, you're right.
it kind of feels like from somebody who obviously doesn't know, there might have been like Easter eggs and stuff that I didn't recognize because I didn't watch Clone Wars and all that and Rebels and whatnot. But it just kind of felt like what was the point? Because now we're back where we started, but things are just reversed now. That was, but now we have to wait. God knows how long to find out more. And I think Star Wars needs like they really need to kind of get it together in a sense. Like they're losing a lot of their fan base, and instead of like just dragging stuff out to say, hey, okay, you'll find out in season 2. I feel like there should have been a little more closure in this season. Leave a little bit for season 2 in the movie, but we should have got more closure with Balin. I felt like more closure. And we should. I've the whole sense of urgency thing with them being on the planets. Like I feel like there should have been more like distraught and stress on Ezra when he's going to tell Hera, like see Hera and said like, "Oh shit, yeah, I'm back, but look what this is what happened or whatever." And then we should maybe saw a little more of her going to talk to the council since that council guy was fighting her on the whole Thrawn thing. She could be like, well, Thrawn's return, and then you could have saw their reaction and then see them kind of stressed out. I just like they left it on like a stronger cliffhanger versus making it sound all happy, like they just won with the whole Force Ghost of Anakin, and then the spirit, like the up music and stuff. I don't know. I just felt like I was expecting a little more, not gonna lie.
Okay, so I've got a lot of thoughts. I am very much on the opposite side of the spectrum than you guys with this episode. I get all the criticisms, and I'm sure as time goes on, I'll probably have more criticisms. But I'm so excited by all the things that they're setting up that it's kind of probably blinding me a little bit. I'll be honest, to a lot of the negative stuff. So first of all, I want to, because you mentioned the Anakin thing at the very end, I kind of want to touch on that, and as well as the Balin thing. There is a chance, and I don't know the level of like likelihood of this. Okay, so when you see Balin standing on it, and I know you saw this, Brandon, he's standing on the hand of the father.
Yeah,
from the Mortis trilogy, and the son is next to him.
Mm-hmm.
The daughter was like destroyed, but like the son is there, and he's standing on the hand of the father. Josh, that has to do with the Mortis trilogy thing, which is like these ancient beings of the Force and stuff like that from the Clone Wars. And then he looks off in the distance, and there's like some sort of like tower or something like that. I don't know if they're on Mortis, assuming that's what the planet name is. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're on Mortis because we still don't know the name of this planet, as far as I'm aware, or some sort of like maybe like halfway point between the realm of Mortis and, you know, the real world, if you will, type of thing. But there's clearly something going on there, which is also why I think we saw the ghost, the Force ghost of Anakin at the very end, not just to be like, oh, this is, you know, it is kind of like, oh, this is a happy moment because we see Force Ghost Anakin. But I think it also talks to, you know, Balin kept saying there's a power here. There's a source here. There's something going on with this planet. Can't you feel it? And if, let's say, this place is Mortis or like Mortis, there is a lot of Force power within that place. And that's why in the Clone Wars, when that the Mortis trilogy of episodes happens, you see the first, well, as far as timeline goes, first Force Ghost version of Qui-Gon shows up in front of Obi-Wan.
Mhm.
And you see him for the first time. And this is before any of them know that that's even a thing. It's just kind of like rumors and like old lore of the Jedi and the Force that it's kind of lost to them at this point in time. And so I have a feeling that it all kind of ties in that regard, that the reason he's able to show up is because of this power of the Force and stuff like that within this place, not just because, you know, he has an attachment to Ahsoka. That's part of it, but I think that this might also have something to do with it. So that's one thing. Another thing, you mentioned the choreography. Some of the things, yes, I do think some of the things could be a little bit quicker. I mentioned before we got on that I personally enjoyed the initial fight between Ahsoka and Morgan. I thought was really good.
That was good.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
choreography with that one I thought was solid, and was, in my opinion, very reminiscent of the prequel era, where there's like, you know, more of the, I don't know if you want to do like the flamboyancy of something, like with the spins and the, you know, it's not the old school like boom, 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 like they're flipping and turning and all this other kind of crazy stuff like Anakin would do, type of thing. It gave me very much that kind of vibe, and so I appreciated that. I had a couple of like, personally, I had a couple of like freak out moments. One of them was that Mortis thing when Balin is shown standing on the hand of the Father. Another one was, I liked the callback to Rebels with the Force jump push
Yeah.
that
I caught that
Ezra and Kanan would do in the series constantly, and the
Mhm.
fact that Ezra and Sabine did it, I was so happy about that. But they had to, and just right before, they had to address the fact that, hey, she is actually starting to hone a little bit of her power, because now she was able to, you know, pull the lightsaber to herself.
Rather quickly too.
I mean, but the same thing
Yeah.
happened. I know you don't like the sequels, but the same thing
Yep.
happened with Daisy Ridley's character. So, you know, and honestly, it's not quickly though. She's been working on it, and there's something
but-
to be said of it's kind of like a fight or flight thing. There's something to be said about what your body might go through or exhibit in a moment of distress and need and things like that. Like you might start honing in a little bit more to certain things, kind of like, and this, I know this is dumb because I'm bringing in the real world, but the whole, like, you know, a mom would lift a car off a baby if it was on top of her kid type of thing, like something like that. Like, again, I'm starting to bring real world shit into it, and that, I'm sure that's dumb, but that's the way I see it. And because it was kind of like, it wasn't the exact same situation with Rey, but it was a very like distressful situation. I'd say this one probably has a little bit more ground to it than Rey when that one happened.
Oh yeah, no, I agree on that one.
But yeah, I don't know. This is, again, we're all just fresh off of watching this episode. I'm sure we're gonna have some very strong opinions going forward. We're gonna have things that maybe change for us as time goes on. I might, like, because I've watched every episode, I think at least every episode twice throughout this season. Like every time a new episode drops, I'm watching the episode before to remind myself everything that's going on, and so I'm sure I'll watch this again. If nothing else, I have to watch it again because Ashlyn needs to watch it. So I'm interested to see what she thinks about it. That's the thing, is it a good way to end the season? Probably not. Is it a lot of really good ideas that they're trying to push to go forward? Yes. There's a lot of really great stuff coming. But now it's, when is it coming? Like, we're going to get to see a live action Dathomir. That's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I agree on that.
That's going to look, hopefully look amazing.
Well, honestly, like I said, I feel like what they did could have been fine, like the episode, if they just ended it with, like I said, with the suspense, like
more of a cliffhanger thing.
We just lost type thing. Like, have all the stress and seriousness of, we just lost Thrawn's back, with Ezra reporting it and whatnot, and then also everything on Balin, because there was a lot of like heavy stuff that just happened.
Yeah,
if they would have ended it in a more suspenseful way, like a cliffhanger, like keeping us on the edge of our seat, like, oh, how are they gonna get out of this? How are they gonna get back? Type thing. Like, what are they gonna do? I feel like it would have changed the whole episode.
I think the Ezra part should have been more like that. I get what they were doing. They wanted that moment of him reuniting with Hera, but like put a little bit more of the urgency and distress in the situation. Whereas the whole Ahsoka side is, I think it has more to do with her, especially her new outlook on everything. She's just kind of in her like hippie mode now, if you will, of like, what will happen, and like, trust in the Force, follow the path. Like she's with her Padawan. I'm sorry, I just meant to say like she's with her Padawan, if you will. So like she, in her mind, she's like everything will work out one way or another, and it's kind of like, no, there's some really bad shit going on right now. You should probably stress a little bit more,
Like I feel like they could have done like, I don't mean to compare the two, but I think in Endgame they did a good job at showing the severity of the situation, but also showing like the reunion between Cap and Iron Man, Tony Stark, when he gets off the ship and he's like half dead. They haven't seen each other since Civil War, but like it was a nice kind of reunion back together. We're like, oh, we lost. And he's like, Tony, we lost. Like it was like a nice kind of reunion type thing, but there was still like you could tell like things were not okay.
Well, yeah, you had more of the emotionality with that scene because like Tony just completely loses it. Like shortly thereafter.
Like that, they could have combined the two, where it's like, oh, it's nice to see you, but we lost. Like this is really bad.
Yeah.
Like if they would have brought it and they had it like in it with like her going to like what is it?
The council.
The council. Since like they were, like I said earlier, since they were so against it, I just feel like it would have added so much like suspense to it. And like
speaking of the council, how much of a prick is Xiono? Like I hate that guy so much. And what's funny is he actually, so he's brought into live action from a different animated series, which is Star Wars Resistance. His son is the lead character in that show. He's like a fighter pilot for the Resistance and stuff like that. But you don't see him a lot in that series. But I just thought it was funny that they're like tying it all in. So they're always still like loosely tying in things from the sequels and stuff like that. But I just think it's so funny how much of an asshole they've made that guy that like every time he's on screen, I'm just like, you have such a punchable face, and I would just love to hit you right now. But I did love it. I forgot that whole thing with episode 7. I did like the whole. I know some people were like, oh, why did we have to see C3PO? Yeah, C3PO. That's what I couldn't get out. But I liked it because it was the whole like, if we're not going to see Leia, this is a nice way to do it, to show that she's clearly, a high level person within the council and the government of the New Republic, because obviously she would be. But like, obviously we're not necessarily going to see a deep fake version of her right now or something like that. So this is a nice way to kind of tie it in to show these characters are still here and they still matter. They're just doing something else. I think Brandon and I were talking that once they get around to actually doing the like Heir to the Empire movie or whatever it is, that we'll probably see her then. They'll maybe do a similar thing that they did in The Rise of Skywalker, like, use her daughter and deep fake it or something like that, and do the same thing with Luke, have him show up, even if it's in a smaller capacity, just have them show up even for, a few scenes or something like that. I think would be good to tie in the old school and the new school Star Wars fans and things like that. And and something else we were talking about before the show was that, before this series started, I was hesitant but hopeful that we'd get more than one season. Now that this has ended, I am confident that there's a second season coming. Like there can't not be, because there's too much stuff that they've set up that couldn't possibly be covered in one film to wrap everything up. Everyone's in so many different places. You would need like easily a 4-hour movie to cover it all solidly, and I just don't see them doing that.
The movie's like 4 or 5 years away, so they have a lot of ground.
Right. They have time to do it, and so we need at least a season 2 of Ahsoka to get, in my opinion, to get to that point. And for all I know, there could be a third season before we get to the movie. I don't know, because everything's still very much up in the air with that. They just know that that's essentially their end game, is when they get to that movie, whatever it's going to be called. But I still think it should be Heir to the Empire. But any other things that you guys wanted to touch on with this episode?
Maybe before we move on to the next topic, because I know we're getting close to that hour mark. What did you guys give the series as a whole, like as a rating? For me, I would probably, because I feel like it had a lot of highs, but has kind of like mid lows. I would probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10.
Brandon, how about you?
Probably 8, roughly. I mean, I'm feel like I'm in a majority on that with a lot of people I'm discussing that show with, but I think that this series has offered more good than bad. And it provided some firsts that we haven't seen. And I can absolutely commend that. Mainly, even if it was for maybe one episode. I mean, I think that it's provided a lot more in-depth look at some of these Rebels characters that maybe we haven't even seen in Rebels. And I think that it's going in the right direction. I'm not happy about the journey, but I'm excited about the destination.
The soundtrack was great too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's something I overlooked so much, but you're
The
right.
music in this show was on point. I would give it that.
Yeah, I'd say I'm probably around where Brandon's at, maybe an 8.5 at the most, because like most things, there's always room for improvement. There's things I wish I would have taken in different directions and things like that. But overall, I think this is probably the best, in my opinion, the best season of a Star Wars show we've gotten since Mandalorian season 2, probably. And even then, there's times where I go back and forth on whether I think season 1 was better or season 2 was better for the Mandalorian. I'm very back and forth on that. So either way,
what you mean?
Do what?
Season 3 was the best. What you mean?
Either way, any way you slice it on that, whether you're talking season 1 or season 2, I think this is right up there with that. Compared,
Book of Boba Fett was prime.
Yeah, no, totally. That one's a 10 out of 10 for sure. That one, yeah. No, we've talked about Brandon and I think we've talked about Book of Boba Fett and some of the other stuff, and like that. It was like that was supposed to be a movie before it was a series, and I'm sure it had a very different story when it was. And I know it predates The Mandalorian as a series, as far as them planning on doing a movie for Boba Fett, and I think that was going to be kind of what the first season of Mandalorian was, in the sense of we were going to see more of the underworld of Star Wars, and obviously more bounty hunters and things like that, and get into the real nitty gritty. But then instead we got the Mandalorian, which I love, but that took precedence, and then they had to fit the Book of Boba Fett around what was happening with the Mandalorian, and I think it kind of got lost a little bit too much within that world.
Kenobi definitely should have been movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, again, Obi-Wan too, for sure. Yeah, that one's. I need to go back and rewatch it, like just all the way through, because I haven't seen it since it came out, but I could tell when I was watching it, even like the first couple episodes in, I'm just thinking, this is probably going to play out better when I can just watch it as a whole thing.
Yeah, somebody actually cut it, and cut it into a movie and took out some of the useless stuff, but watch it. It's about an hour 20 minutes. It might be on YouTube. I know there was a link for it floating around a while ago, but kind
of like when they did the Ultimate Edition of Revenge of the Sith, where they tied in like the last 2 episodes of Clone Wars. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes, I do. Yeah, that's good point. But yeah, it's similar in fashion. They just kind of cut all the episodes together. I don't think they added anything in from
anything else, but it's just more cohesive story wise.
Just some of the parts that I've seen of it. I think it proves the fact that they should have kept that a movie and just done it as it is right now. But
that's one of the things I was thinking about with this series. We've been talking about the way that they went about this and the things that they're setting up, or the things that they're kind of like leaving on the bedroom floor or whatever, like as far as we don't know where they're going and they're setting up a lot of stuff. It's kind of like the difference I feel like with the whole series thing versus the movies is we more or less knew that something was coming. So like when you had episode 1, 2, and 3, you knew 2 years later or whatever, 2 or 3 years later, you were getting episode 2, and then you were going to get episode 3 that was going to wrap everything up. Everything up right now is up in the air. We haven't officially heard season 2 is happening, even though that would be the dumbest thing ever that they don't. But we technically don't know, and we don't know what other series or things that might happen in the intermediate before we get to Heir to the Empire or whatever. So we're just left up to, like, to not know anything essentially. And so we're all just playing this big game of what if and what happens when and all this other kind of stuff. And so I think that can negatively affect an outlook on things as well, because your mind starts playing that game and you're just trying to fill all those holes and you can't really do it. But anyway, I think we've talked enough about Ahsoka. As you guys know, I can talk about it all day, but I can do this all day, as Josh's favorite character would do.
That's America's ass right there.
It is America's ass.
He's not my favorite, but
no, I say, but you are the Marvel guy. So with that said, we're going to be talk real quick. We're going to talk. There's some new first reactions for Loki season 2 that have been dropping. Yeah, I did hear something about this art before the show started, and I was like, oh, maybe that was a bad idea.
No, I was saying I like it.
Oh, okay. I don't mind. There's been some people saying that it might be AI art, and I was like,
it could be, but it's cool to look at regardless.
I'll say this: if it is AI art, it's one of the few ones that I couldn't tell it was AI art right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like, which is kind of scary in and of itself. But anyways, Josh, you're the resident Marvel guy, so tell us. I know there's been word about certain things. What's going on?
Well, it's 2 days away. The thing I've been most excited about for Marvel for a long time. We're finally going to get back on track with the multiverse stuff, because we've had 2 phases now. We're in phase 5. That are apparently the multiverse saga, and like I've been saying, we've had I think like 4 or 5 projects that has actually dealt with the multiverse. Everything else has been just kind of like side stuff. So it's nice that we're finally getting into it. The reviews have been great. There are some negative ones here and there, but you're going to get that with anything. And a lot of people are kind of over the multiverse thing, and a lot of people don't like it because it gets confusing and like crammed and together. So I think that's a lot of people's issues with it. But I'm excited that we're finally getting something to move the story forward. Apparently, it picks up literally the moment that season 1 ends, so I'm glad that it's a continuation. And everybody's saying that it's the best thing that Marvel's. I know they say that for everything, but it's the best Marvel's been put out in a long time. And this one apparently is the first Marvel project that got no reshoots. Like they did everything on the first try. So that's why the CGI apparently is on point, because instead of having to go back and retool things because they decided to do reshoots randomly, since day one they were able to put the time and effort to making this look fantastic. So apparently the CGI is on point. And that's been a big complaint from Marvel lately, is the CGI has been weird, because you know how there's a strike going on for multiple reasons. So just because of working conditions and stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently Jonathan Majors, he's killing it as King, is timely. I've heard some mixed reviews on that, I think. So I'm excited to see that. But I'm just excited to see more Kang and to see where the multiverse saga is going. I know this is going to tie into Deadpool 3 because the TVA is going to be in Deadpool 3. And I'm just hyped. We got 2 days away, and I'm excited to talk weekly about that. And are you guys excited for it? Or do you guys get multiverse stuff? Or
yeah, I need to go back and rewatch Loki season 1. I haven't watched it since it came out, and I feel like I need a refresher before season 2 happens. But I'd say I'm pretty excited. Oh, is that the
4K, bro? Got the 4K Loki season.
Okay.
Oh, snap, dude. That's
nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
show and tells later though, man.
This could have been, but this isn't my show and tell. I think it's really cool that Disney Plus is starting to do the physical releases for the stuff. I know WandaVision is next, but this is a beautiful show. But I'm excited. And you know who the biggest shock is of the whole season or series, even season 1, is Owen Wilson. Everybody loves him. Like when they said he was going to be in the Marvel, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, he's killing it. Like, he's become a beloved character, and I'm excited to see more. And I hope the man finally gets to ride his jet ski. All I want to see is that he gets to ride his damn jet ski.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like when they said the thing about about Owen Wilson. I was just like, why? Like that's such an odd choice, but they found the perfect place to put him in the MCU. Like it has to be quirky and weird and off the wall, and it's exactly what this series was. So like I said, they did a really good job, and he does a really good job in that role. So I'm excited to see more of him. I'm really interested to see where this whole multiverse thing is actually headed. Even if it's just more in line with this particular series for now. I'm sure by the end we'll have a better idea of what it might lead into, but I just honestly, I'm ready for more multiverse. I want that. I don't care personally. I don't care the whole like, oh, it's confusing. Like it's more or less not that bad. As long as they're not just completely, it's not a DC thing where they're just completely like, oh, this is multiverse, but wait, is it? Oh, or no?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it could be, but it's not. As long as Marvel's not doing that, it can't be that confusing. I know.
But you guys hear that they might actually be? I don't know how true it is, but they're considering scrapping King Dynasty and just going and getting to Secret War.
I don't know, man.
I didn't hear that.
I think you kind of that's a huge jump. That Secret Wars, you have to have a movie alone. Like even if
they want to skip King. Like from what I'm hearing, I don't know how true it is. They might skip the King Dynasty and
I don't think that's a good idea. I think Secret Wars to be done properly has to be its own separate entity, similar to how Infinity War to Endgame was.
So you're saying we need the Kang Dynasty in order to get the Secret Wars?
Yeah,
what you're trying to say.
I think you have to have a lot of setup to really bring in not just the Marvel fans who know a little bit about what to expect from it, but you have to have, and I'm sure they're definitely considering this, being that this is all about multiverse and it is confusing a lot of people. You have to bring in the crowd that is just going to see a movie. And they don't have any expectations behind this, and they don't know the lore and the stories and everything that we've all followed up with. But you have to separate the two and have a setup and then an ending. Not ending, but I guess conclusion is a better way to put it. But you know what I mean.
They're essentially restarting after it. So yeah,
big setup aside from Loki for Secret Wars is going to be Deadpool 3.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
With the strikes coming to a close, like Kevin Feige, I'm hearing Kevin Feige's focuses right now is finalizing the Fantastic Four, Deadpool 3, and Secret Wars. Like that's his main focus right now. And I agree with you. They need to lead up to it, but I think that they're trying to. It could be maybe they could use Deadpool 3 as a way to kind of replace King Dynasty. I don't know, but like. From what I'm hearing, and it's all over Twitter, so it's not even a spoiler, and who knows if it's true, but like with the plot for King Dynasty, it kind of feels like they're just redoing, in a sense, Infinity War and Endgame, because apparently it's like the 616 Avengers, whoever that's going to be by that time, is going to fight the Council of Kings, then they're going to lose, and then in Secret Wars, it's going to be like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool forming a team to come save the 616 Avengers and stuff like that. So it kind of feels like they're just kind of redoing the whole, they lose, and then next movie they come back and there's a big battle and they win, and you have all these different characters. Like, so I don't know. I kind of feel like they're just kind of repeating.
I get what you're saying. Like when they announced these movies with the whole Kang Dynasty and then Secret Wars thing, at that particular time, I don't think I had a better understanding of like what that could mean, but having kind of seen the trajectory of as far as what we can see of what this thing's headed and the plans that they have made or at least hinted at and things like that, there's something to be said of are we just putting in a placeholder? Are we dragging this out too much to get to it? At the same time, I don't want them to jump the gun. I don't want them to be like, oh, we need to rush to Secret Wars because that's going to be like the biggest, I know everyone hates this word, but the biggest like fan service movie of all time before we reset the entire universe and everything like that. And it's like, that's our money maker right there to get us back to, Avengers level money and stuff like that. But if they're actually going to stick with the whole Kang Dynasty thing, we really, really got to nail it on the next couple of projects. Yeah, we got to get more projects with him in it that hit the mark and are like a hit with people and not just critics, not just across the board, because otherwise no one's going to give a shit.
These side stories with, like, obviously I enjoy things like Moon Knight, but we need to stop having that. But if they're going to do that, like Moon Knight, they could have had Kang one because the Kang variant Tut Kamatut, however you say his name is man, they just like he was
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you're talking about.
yeah, he's a Kang variant. He could easily be the villain of that series. Like they need to start because there's so many of them. Like they need to have more Kang variants showing, which I hope that's what
Yeah.
they're going to start doing. So each movie, there's Kangs involved in some way, shape, or form. So when you get to the Kang Dynasty, it hits hard because like nobody sees Kang as a threat right now because he who remains technically died. Sylvie killed him, and then as people think Kang the Conqueror died in Ant-Man, I don't think he's dead. I think he got sucked into a multiversal battery. He probably just got sent somewhere else, but he died from a bunch of ants. So like he hasn't really been like people like Loki and
It's okay. He's the new MODOK. It's fine.
yeah, but
Oh, no.
he's being said that he is this all powerful thing, but like we haven't seen it yet, and like that's why I want to see. And Jonathan Majors, I think, can deliver. Regardless of how you feel about him with all the stuff going on, I think he can deliver a performance and really make a compelling villain. But like they're just, I don't feel like they're making him. They're not taking him as seriously as they were doing for Thanos because I don't think they would have killed Thanos off if there was at all like how they did an Ant-Man or anything like that. If that makes any sense. But they need a lot more Kang going forward.
For
And
sure.
like we should have since the Marvels comes afterwards, there should be a reference to him in the Marvels. Well, I doubt there will be, but there should have been in the Marvels. And then
It's probably going to be like a post-credit thing, and that's probably it, unfortunately, or something at the very end of the movie, even before the post-credits or something like that. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to tie in too much with the overall multiverse saga.
apparently there's an incursion that happens in it, but like that's the closest thing we're gonna get to it.
Okay.
But like, apparently, by the time, because Kevin Feige said by the time we get to Deadpool 3, the multiverse is going to be in shambles. Like they're not going to be able to do little side shows and stuff anymore without explaining everything. Like everything's going to be messed up.
Right.
And so like I feel like if that, which apparently Deadpool 3 got pushed, even though it was the next movie after the Marvels, now it's pushed to 2025. I don't know how that works. But
I didn't hear that.
I've heard a rumor of that. I don't know how true that is, but that's a rumor. But we never really know. But if that's the case, 2025, okay, that's 2 years away. That means we need to start seeing stuff happening like now.
Yeah.
It's going to be in shambles in 2 years, you know?
Personally, I mean, as much as I want to see Deadpool 3, if they feel that they needed time, because when they were filming it, they were restricted on what they could do because of the whole writer's strike thing. They couldn't make any adjustments to the script. They couldn't improvise at all when they were filming. If they feel like they need to go back and redo some stuff and rework some of these things, and maybe because Deadpool 3 is going to play a much bigger role than some people even realize in the future of the MCU, I'm fine with it. If we got to wait a whole extra year or whatever, I don't care. I trust in Ryan Reynolds. I trust in that team that's working behind the scenes with this, with Deadpool and everything like that. I think it is everything I'm hearing for that sounds amazing. And if I got to wait a little bit longer for them to get it just right, I'm fine with it personally.
No, I agree. I just think that they need, same as Star Wars. Like we need to start getting to it. Like I feel like they're prolonging everything.
Don't bore us. Get to the chorus.
They're losing their fan base. Like even like me, I'm a diehard. Like I'm a fanboy. Like I will literally be blinded and say, "Oh, it's amazing." If it's like, which I'm getting better not doing that now. But like if it's complete dog crap, I'll still say, "Oh, this is great," because I'm a Marvel simp. But like even people like me, like I'm starting to like I'm not excited to see the Marvels when I usually would be excited. I'm still gonna go see it day one, but like I don't have that excitement like it used to be when you see a Marvel movie or the show came out. Like it felt like it was an event.
Yeah,
like it was something excited to look forward to. Now it just feels like, okay, it's another filler we gotta get through. They really need to start just like kind of like getting to it. That's why I think they should cut a lot of this stuff. Like we don't need an Echo show. We don't need an Agatha show. We don't need Wonder Man. We don't need any of that. Let's just start getting to the point.
Wonder Man. When was that announced?
Yeah, that's in production. They started filming right before the strikes.
Wow.
The guy who plays Black Manta and Candyman, he's Wonder Man.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
Holy shit! That one slipped my radar.
They're going deep catalog now. You know what I mean? Like
they're focusing like there's so many like WandaVision spinoffs. They got the Agatha.
Yeah. There's no
Wonder
point.
Man, Vision Quest. Like okay, WandaVision was great and Multiverse of Madness was great, but like they need to start just tying that into the future plans because they're losing a lot of people. Like I don't want it by the time we get the Secret Wars, which is probably like 2027 at this point because it keeps getting pushed back. like they're gonna annihilate their fan base, but nobody's gonna care. That's what I'm gonna go see it, but like I'm worried that like it's nobody's gonna care anymore, and it's because they prolong this stuff and they just had so much filler. I don't know. Like there's just a lot of stuff we don't need. Like I feel like they should cut a lot of stuff and start prioritizing other things and put a lot of focus on the stuff that's important.
Understood. Well, we kind of touched on a little bit because it's affecting everything in Hollywood right now, but they did actually reach a tentative agreement to end the writer's strike. This is ended up being the second longest strike in Hollywood history, but it has officially come to an end as of last week. I believe it was last Sunday or something like that. This There's a lot of stuff. We still don't know all the information as far as what that tentative deal is. I know a lot of it has to do with obviously just pay in general, whether it be like making sure they have a minimum pay that they can make sure that they can afford to live. There's a lot of the streaming rights stuff. There's the AI stuff that's involved that became a big part of it. So there's a lot of this stuff we still don't really know everything to, and it's going to be a while before we do because they're still finalizing a lot of these contracts anyways. But all that is to say, the good news is that people can get back to work. People can start making money again. They can start making these movies and these TV shows and everything like that. We can get back to production and not just do it just to get back to it, but to hopefully start going in a positive direction going forward. So do you guys have any thoughts on this whole situation?
I do.
Yeah, go for
it. So first off, the just one bit of clarification, because when I know you're preferencing writer strike, but to those listening that have heard about the strike this, the strike that, the actor strike is still going on, and that's going to keep dragging on for a long while, just because, at least in my opinion, because there is a lot more sensitive topics that they have to get through that will alter one way or another the course of Hollywood for good. And that all has to be delved into with AI. So
yeah, they don't want AI using their likeness without.
Correct. Yeah. So as it was set up before, the way that I understand it is that, and there was no rules for this. This is all new territory because AI is fresh and it's getting to a point now to where it's going to affect people's work. They have to have stipulations in place, and those stipulations are not met. So the bigger corporations such as Disney, Netflix, and other movie production houses will find those loopholes and exploit it to their monetary gain. And that is what people are pissed off about. So just quick briefer, how it was set up before was that if you are an actor, theoretically they could pay you for 1 day's wage, scan your likeness, you record a 30-minute scene, and in that 30-minute scene, when they scan your likeness into AI, they own the rights to your likeness. So they could have you personally, what looks like you personally, walking around as a background actor, eating soup in a shop or whatever, in the background, and you're never going to see a dime from that. So that's, to me, it's incredibly messed up, and it deserves the attention that it's getting. So I'm all for it. The writer strike was a similar situation where more or less it delves into, basically, think of it like this: if you have a staff of writers, right, and they're all let's say they're all having bad days, they're not coming up with good ideas that are pleasing the executives. Executives can't, or they could before, but now they cannot turn around and just go, okay, Chat GPT, let's get some ideas, and type in, write me a script for this under these pretexts and blah, 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 and have an entire script there and completely cut out the writers. So as far as I know right now, doing a little bit of research on it, you cannot basically make money off of, I might be wrong on this, it's something along the lines of, you can't make monetary gain when you have a staff of writers by using AI to write the shows for you. And on top of that, the writers are now getting huge pay increases. And it's all in all a huge win for them. So I'm glad it's over. For them, I'm hoping the the actors can get similar outcomes from theirs, but guaranteed, because it has to do with likenesses, it's going to drag on a little bit longer. So I hope to see a win on the actor side for that, because quite frankly, scanning a likeness,
There was a
that's
whole
so
Black
wrong.
Mirror episode about that. Did you guys see it? The Black Mirror episode
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
one?
when they were
Was it the newer season or
yeah when
previous?
they were
Yeah, I
watching.
have not yet.
Yeah, there's an episode, and they call it something different, but it's essentially Netflix. And actors will be at home looking for a movie to watch, and they'll see their face on a show coming on, and it's a show pretty much portraying their life, or whatever. But it's them, but it's not. It's like AI or whatever. So it's like it's a whole thing. They're using their likeness and making these shows without their consent and stuff. So there was like a whole Black Mirror episode about it.
Yeah, I hadn't
Dang.
seen it, but I did hear about that episode and things like that. Black Mirror gets a lot of stuff right, and it's a little scary at times. But one of the things that it reminded me of, I saw this article talking about what's crazy is some of this like AI or sort of related stuff is not as new as we might think. Apparently, and obviously this is 20 years ago. Jet Li was supposed to have like a more prominent role or in the sequels for The Matrix, but apparently they wanted to be able to have him come into the studio, scan him doing all his martial arts and everything like that, like for them to use for the CGI and everything else that they need in choreography, and then keep that. Like, so essentially they would own his martial arts in the digital sphere to be able to use for whatever they wanted going forward. And he said, fuck you, I'm not doing that. And he said, you don't, I'm not going to be in this movie. And so I heard about that and I was like, that is fucking insane, that especially that long ago that something like that was happening. And that it almost came to be that early on versus now with the whole likeness type of thing. That something as simple as, I mean, it's not simple, but something like, you know, a person's martial arts and body movements and, you know, everything like that could have been tracked and held on to for that period of time and used for whatever they wanted 20 odd years ago. And now we skip ahead and we're dealing with a similar thing, but even further, because now it's likeness and voices and all this kind of stuff. Like I heard a bunch of stuff with like voice actors dealing with this, with the whole AI thing. And it's absolutely insane.
They're saying video game voice act or the video game industry is going to go on strike next. So that's the next big concern. So
yeah. And I heard that the VFX artists at I think it was all of Disney, or it might just be Marvel at Disney, has decided to unionize. They haven't decided to strike, but they've decided to. They all voted to unionize. Now that could end up leading to a strike.
Yeah,
I don't know, but because apparently the working conditions, especially with the Marvel side of things, have not been good to their VFX artists with a lot of their recent projects. And like the amount of hours per day that they're forced to work and the conditions of their work and all this kind of stuff. It's So, you know, we say the whole like strikes are coming to an end, but it's a very uphill battle. Like we've won the battle, but it's a long way to win the war. You know what I mean?
We're on a good path, but we still got a long way to go.
Long way to go, per usual. So, that's it for as far as the topics today. We're reaching around the 1 hour mark, but I do want to do, we did a 2 hour episode last week. I won't do that, but what I do want to do a quick show or tell so the guys can talk about some of the stuff that they have. So we just said, hey, show or tell. Yay. Okay. And Josh, what do you got for us this week?
Well, aside from this awesome 4K steelbook of Loki season 1.
What?
Yeah,
never seen that. It's crazy.
So I got a cool art print that I picked up. And funny story, I had to wake up 2 times in the really, really early in the morning at 3 a.m. to make sure I can grab one because they sold out within 3 minutes. I made 250 of them, and that was The Last of Us Part 1 art print. They retail for $80, and because scalpers are scalpers, it's going on eBay for like $400 or $500 now. But
good Lord.
Yeah, but I was super excited I was able to get one. I woke up at 3 a.m. 2 nights in a row because the first night it's done by an artist called Jake. He does a lot of licensed art for Sony. So he did like a lot of Ghost of Tsushima, some Last of Us. He did the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game art, but he said that this was going up at 3 a.m. one night, and then it actually was. So we woke up, me and my buddy Will, but all he was selling was he didn't realize it was selling the original art. There was 2 pieces of original art that were selling for like $1,200.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay. And then he's like, oh, my bad. The actual 250 ones, edition size ones going up the following day. So I woke up 2 nights in a row at 3 a.m. this thing.
Dang, man.
And I got it. Be right here. It's beautiful. I'm hoping to get Troy and Ashley, the voice actors of Joel and Ellie, to sign it, and then I can get it framed. But yeah, I'm proud of it.
That's crazy. Yeah, when you sent us that photo the other day, I was like, I need the backstory on this. Like, what is going on with it? So like, I was so confused. I was like, it's a cool piece, but I was like, what is so crazy that it was like this sort of situation? Now it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's The Last of Us. It's my all-time favorite video game aside from like Zelda and Pokemon. I love this show. Obviously, I think the game's better, but it holds a special place, and it's up there with Marvel for me. I absolutely love The Last of Us. So.
Wow, that's a big
Dang.
step for y'all that
Yeah,
don't know.
for
That's
real.
a big freaking statement
Mhm.
from Josh on there. Brandon, what you got for us this week?
So in the spirit of Rebels, Star Wars, Ahsoka, all that fun stuff, it's another autograph Funko, which is probably going to be dominantly what I show on here because that's the most of what I have in my collection. But I have a signed Kanan pop from Freddie Prinze Jr. So funny backstory behind this. He was doing Dragon Con up in Atlanta, and I have a friend who's in Atlanta that was going to it, and Freddie had been announced at a convention here that is happening this weekend that I'll be at. I know Andrew's going to be at.
Yep.
And they have a good amount of the Rebels cast. I think Hera, Ezra, and then he was supposed to be there, Freddie Prinze Jr. for Kanan. And I was going to get it signed there, but I'm like, thinking back, the last 3 times this man has been scheduled in Florida, I have held on to this, by the way, since 3 years ago. The first time that I remember he was supposed to be here at Spooky Empire in Orlando, canceled because of COVID. The second time he was supposed to be in Miami at SuperCon, canceled because he's Freddie Prinze Jr. And then
Last year at Spooky as well. So
yeah, exactly. So I ended up just sending it to my buddy, despite the fact that he was going to be in an hour away from me, and at an event I'm already going to. I was like, you know what? Just in case he cancels, I'm gonna send it up to Atlanta and get it done. So I did. He showed up. Because of the strike, he did not do character names. I've had people ask me what that is. I have zero clue. I don't know what he did. Maybe he just tried to draw the Force. Who knows? But yeah. So no character names, no quotes, but that's okay because I just wanted his signature at the end of the day. That's all I care about. So I got it. It shipped back to me. Had it in my hand for about probably 4 or 5 days, and he canceled the event this weekend. So I am extra double glad that I have this done now, because if I had held on to it, he would not have I would not have gotten it done. And this is the last of the Ghost crew that I can get that is not Dave Filoni. I have all the others. I'm probably never going to have Dave Filoni on Chopper, but the entire Ghost crew on all the Funkos is done. So so that's my cool story and my cool figure. What about you, Andrew? What you got?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for rubbing it in. I appreciate it.
Sorry, I know. Here's the thing. Before I started that, I looked up on your shelf and I was like, I don't see Kanan. When I was over at his house, I don't remember seeing Kanan. Maybe he was just getting Ezra, but you do have a Kanan?
I do. It's
shit.
So what I have, no, it's fine. What I have is like the sign, since for the Rebel crew on one side, I have like the signed ones are on top, the ones that aren't signed are on the bottom.
Okay.
So I think it's Kanan's probably on the bottom is why you didn't see him.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, I've got essentially the entire Funko run of Rebels. The only one missing is they did 2 different Sabines. I got rid of the helmeted one.
Yeah.
But I got that. Oh, and they technically did a second Chopper, and I had that one too, where he's got the Imperial paint job. Yeah, I have the
chop.
Yeah, I have. My Chopper has a misprint where it says chop.
Yeah, chop.
And I love it. I'm so happy about that.
Yeah,
but
keep that. That's the more expensive one.
So I have two items I'm gonna show. this week. Last episode, we didn't quite have enough time for the show or tell, but Brandon and I both went to Ocala Comic Con. We both got this signature, but got to meet Cameron Monaghan, I believe is how you say his name. And I got autograph from him on this Cal Kestis and BD1 pop. Did the Trust Only in the Force. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I knew you had that one.
Did you get Trust Only too? You did?
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it's like the best line in my opinion out of everything. And in that same spirit, I also recently acquired the Cal Kestis hilt from Galaxy's Edge.
Nice.
And this is so there's two different ones. This is the first iteration where it's just the blue lightsaber. They recently came out with a second edition that comes in like a full box set that has multicolor. It's like 6 or 7 different colors you can choose from, all built in to the lightsaber. But I'm fine with just the one. I just honestly, the biggest thing for me is just having the hilts. Like I like, it's cool to use them or something like that, but like for the most part, it's just gonna stay on my shelf. So the whole like movie accurate thing. And here's something that I heard that was kind of interesting. I'll say about this. And this was I heard at Disney, and I won't say who told me, but someone told me that Disney only does movie or like live action characters for their hilts, and has only done ones that they plan to do. So take that with a grain of salt, but that could mean something down the line for Cal. That something could be coming down the line for him in some capacity. I've said
another Star Killer rumor. Come on.
Yeah, well, it could be a complete farce. It could just mean like the video game was so popular and so well received that they wanted to kind of bank on it a little bit. There's something to be said about that. But
like he was in Shameless, close enough.
Yes, but I like that, and it kind of points to like why we've seen certain things but not others. Now that being said, there was talk about them possibly doing a Kanan saber. So if they do that, that's going to kind of like go against what that person was saying. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. So anyway, I think that's going to do it for our episode of Retroactive this week. Real quick before we jump off, I do want to give my guys a chance to let you guys know where you can find them. Brandon, tell the people what you got going on.
Venture Authentics. We got a couple events coming up. Not too many. I think we're doing one for sure. Maybe two. But that's it. So if you need any autographs, let me know, and I'll be happy to let you know where we'll be at. In 2024, we're looking to hit it a lot harder than what we did this year. Fingers crossed. No more COVID, no more strikes, and we'll be golden. So Venture Authentics, Venture_Authentics on Instagram, but Venture Authentics everywhere else.
Awesome. And Josh, how about you?
You can find me at McCoy Culture on YouTube and Instagram. I have some reviews coming up on that guy, that little Pokemon statue back there. I don't know if you can see it. I actually had the whole thing done. I just yet to repost it for whatever reason. And I got a Half Skull Iron Man coming. And like Brandon, I have some cool autographs coming in. I sent a art print to get signed by Tom Hiddleston and Chris Evans. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, you can find me at McCoy Culture. And then on Friday nights on Toy Quest 101 with our buddy Miguel. And then over here on Retroactive.
Awesome. And of course, you can find me at Andrew is Losing on pretty much all social media. I do plan on trying to be at Spookala in Tampa this coming weekend, I believe Sunday. And then I'm hoping to also do Spooky Empire the following weekend. If you see me, come say hi. All 20 of you watching right now. And could just come talk to me. I love just meeting up with people, like putting, faces to the names and that sort of thing, and meeting people within the community and all that fun stuff. Also, be sure to, of course, like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow at Retroactive POD on Instagram, TikTok, and all that good stuff. So with that said,
go see Slaughterhouse.
Can't let it go.
I'm going to use this on the fucking sloth in a second.
There we go.
Go see Slaughterhouse.
All right. And that'll do it for today. Thank you.